Hello everyone. In this video today, it's going to be a little bit more lax. I'm just going to be talking through as I sketch some stuff. So follow along if you want. So in previous videos, I've posted, I go over how to draw the face in kind of a generic way. It's usually just staring straight ahead. I go over the proportions, the line in the middle, the lines for the nose and mouth, and you draw your eyes and everything. And it's really boring. It's a face that has no personality, no emotion, no characteristics, no nothing. So it's really trying to be as truly generic as possible to really get those averages in. And I can safely say I have never drawn a face, following every single proportion that I liked, because they turn out just really stiff and not good. So today I wanted to kind of show you how I bridge the gap of going from the face that is every single proportion, watching every measurement and stuff, to just drawing characters' faces. And this is definitely for more like kind of cartoony, drawing from imagination kind of stuff. If you are drawing a realistic person, you generally work from a photo or from life. So that's a little bit different. So kind of put that aside. This is not realistic faces. But to start out with, I guess, I'll just jump right in. A lot of the faces I do when just drawing characters, I don't follow this setup so strictly, for better for worse in some drawings. I kind of begin to exaggerate different features over others. So this one, I'm still doing a face that is staring straight ahead. Well, she's not staring straight ahead, but looking forward. And it's just showing how you can, this is so stiff and formal with just, tilting the head, kind of curving the gaze upward a little bit, can change that up already fairly drastically and giving it personality. I come in at first very, very lightly because things tend to change up quite a lot. A lot of the times when I'm drawing, I'll draw the face and then I'll realize my guidelines are way off and I'll have to redo those. And it truly is just kind of a hit and miss sometimes. It was a lot more hit and miss when I first started, and as you keep going, you're able to figure it out a little bit more. But changing the eyebrows, the eye shape, the mouth, all these things add a lot to a character instead of just drawing this, kind of deadpan face. So for example, as I have the face on here, kind of where I want, I notice that my guidelines are off. I don't want the chin down here. That would look a bit strange and not quite what I'm envisioning for this character. So I can come in here and completely alter my guidelines. I have the nose on this nose line, but the mouth, is barely on that line for the mouth. Like, they're not hard, fast rules. Again, sometimes for better or worse. I've seen things that's like, wow, I did not measure that right. That looks really messed up. And usually this head is not on a very exaggerated angle looking up, but is slightly. And if your head is tilted up, your ears do come down a little bit further, but it's not a very extreme angle, so they can kind of go where they would be normally. And it's a little bit hard for me to draw on a flat table. I usually have my sketchbook propped up so I can see it flat, so this will be somewhat distorted for me, and then through the camera it might be distorted again, which makes it kind of hard, but... And once I kind of have this scribble, really, I can go in and I can begin to darken the lines that I actually want to keep, because everything else gets erased. can go in and clean up some lines. It does get confusing if you have so many lines here. You can't even really see what you're drawing. And of course, this is still a really fast sketch. If I were drawing something for an official illustration or something, I would be spending a lot more time in checking my measurements and making sure things looked all right. Of course, when you are exaggerating features and stuff, it is harder to check measurements because everything is kind of skewed. But this is just very quick. So there's that one. Still somebody facing straight ahead, but already a face vastly different from, you know, one of these examples with really no notable features whatsoever. And then second, just to give another example of a face tilting down, this is going to be kind of the quintessential villain pose you see on pretty much every movie poster. The bad guy is looking down with his eyebrows overshadowing his eyes in pretty much every picture. It kind of cracks me up. Those with eyes, I kind of start with a kind of a roundish shape, kind of putting where this eye socket would be. And here we have those brooding eyebrows that are low over where this eye is. Kind of put in the iris right underneath the eyebrow, because when the head is tilted downward like this, the eyebrow gets lower over the eyes, and the eyes kind of just peer up from underneath them. The nose is also more pointed downward. And it will kind of hang over the lips just a little bit, depending on how drastic the angle is. So here the lips are a little bit closer to the nose than they might otherwise be because of this angle. Also, kind of in the opposite of this, when the face is pointed downward, the ears are higher, appear higher on the face. And again, this is not a very drastic angle, so I'm not putting them up too terribly high. Here I'm putting in kind of the muscle, those cords of the neck, the sternocleidomastoid muscle that comes down, because again, if the head is tilted downward, if the person is leaning forward, their shoulders are going to be much higher, and they're going to kind of come straight out. So I have the hint of the neck, but you can't really put the edges of the neck when the shoulders are this high. Maybe put the collar of a shirt right there. And then some hair. The forehead and the top of the head are going to be a little bit larger. Your eyes aren't going to be perfectly in the middle anymore, again, because of this tilt. A lot of the features are distorted, and it is really intimidating because you're like, well, I got all these proportions just this way. I can't move the head around at all because then all those proportions get shifted. And that can be really hard. But again, just practice. There are just hundreds of references on the internet for faces looking in different angles and directions and, you know, up and down and everything. And those are immensely helpful. And if I'm drawing something with a really intense angle, I will look those up and use as a reference because I don't know what I'm doing with this guy's hair. I can't talk and draw at the same time. It's really hard. But I'll look up the references because things get really distorted the more you tilt your head in a certain direction. I maybe have given him way too big of a head up here. I don't know. Maybe I just has really fluffy hair. I can come in and begin to darken those features again, see what I want. In this one, I didn't clean up this sketch a ton. You can still see some of the guidelines. You can still see it's a big mess. If I were doing that as an official picture, I'd go in and clean up all of it, which can be kind of annoying and painstaking to go in and erase these, you know, tiny little lines like in the eye that you want gone and stuff. I mean, that's why I would definitely suggest getting a kneaded eraser. I love them because you can shape them to something tiny and lift out the pencil in the different places that you don't want it to be anymore. And sometimes your drawings kind of take a turn you weren't expecting. I didn't expect this guy to look quite so angry. He's just having a bad day, I guess. It is funny if people like look over your shoulders, you're drawing something like that, and then you're like, are you doing okay? And you're like, I'm fine. Just turned out angrier than I was expecting. And they're not even. It is a pain sometimes getting the eyes even on both sides. It gets easier, but, you know, some days it's still a struggle. Yeah, holy cow, he's so mad. Here, you know, if their eyebrows are really furrowed, you can add lines in between the eyebrows where the skin kind of gets pinched together. You know, if you want to get really crazy with this kind of stuff, adding shadows, especially to a more intense expression and pose like this, usually light from above is what's used a lot. Adding shadows over the eyes, adding a shadow underneath the nose. Definitely kind of take your picture to the next level. But in trying to just master the different expressions and positions, I wouldn't suggest playing with lighting too much until you get a better grasp on this, or have a reference to work from, because references help so much. Never be afraid to use a reference. Gotta color in his hair dark, because, you know, if he's a bad guy, he has to have dark hair. That's the other rule, apparently, for villains who look like this. Okay. I really don't like that hair. That is awful, but it's a quick sketch, so it is what it is. I'll throw in that collar. And there you have two very different faces, both from a face, you know, looking straight ahead, and both with a lot more character than that generic basic proportions kind of face. So hopefully this helped some of you if you're trying to bridge the gap between adding more character to your pictures. And if you want more videos like this, let me know in the comments. And also if you want to support me, go over to Patreon and check that out. I have a lot more of my sketchbook stuff, a lot of my personal projects that I'm working on that you can go take a look at, and take a look at some of the sketches that I do on a daily basis. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.